Hey guys, new video here. Tier listing for the maps. I get a lot of questions on stream of what map do I shape? What map do I use my Elder Orb on? What are some good maps to run? What are some good maps to run if I'm using movement speed? What maps are good if I use shield charge, whirling blades? And so I just want to make like a video about like what I think about the maps that I've actually personally run, like why you might choose them, and all the considerations about each of the maps. Now, little disclaimer: this is just my opinions. I could be absolutely wrong. I'm just going based off how I like to play. I'm trying to like keep some other things in mind, and so like if you find something that's different than this, then by all means do it. This is just my experiences with the Atlas, and if you watch my stream, you know I have a very specific style of play. So. Let's get right into it. So I will go over I have like the T16s here. I have some T15s, some T14s, and some miscellaneous that I will go over. And if you guys didn't know, you can just right click a map and it zooms to the map. So what are the first, before you think of any map to pick, you gotta think about why you pick these maps. So I would say the number one thing to consider when choosing your map is fun. Meaning if you run a map, after you're done, you get out of the map, you're like, huh, would I want to run that map again? Did I have fun running that map, right? And no matter what else, if you had a lot of fun running that map, then that is an excellent contender for doing that map again, right? So you run like, let's just take this one right here. You run like Vault, and you're like, oh man, Vault, that was super awesome. Wow, I like hitting those levers. I like how the boss is like a Joel that like gets summoned from the gold piles. Ooh, I want to run that again. Then by all means, screw what anyone else says and just do the map you want to run, okay? So that number one condition for running a map or eldering a map, shaping a map, choosing a map to run over and over is fun, okay? Number two is going to be a combination of mob density and mob spacing. Mob density just, if you put on some Rampage gloves, some Rampage belt action, Biscos, you go through the map, you count how many monsters, right? So like if you go through and a map has like, 700 monsters, like a cells or something, right, unrolled, unsexed, you're like, oh wow, that's nice. If a map is like complete trash density, like Underground River, right, it's like 400 monsters. When you clear, you're like, oh my god, that was like so bad, right? So that's one important factor. And the monster spacing is how far apart are all the packs, right? So obviously in the dungeon layouts, the packs are pretty close. In the more open layouts, they might be spread out. And there's another consideration in terms of spacing, which is like the rooms of the map. So let me just think off the top of my head, Barrow Chambers and Tropical Island, right? Tropical Island has that middle corridor, which has one mob pack. So, it's all right, but it's a little bit of travel where it's not really part of the map proper. And then of course the Barrow Chamber has the little mini like whale ruins portion connecting the two big rooms. The room to the boss has no monsters whatsoever. It's got that little walkway that makes it kind of weird for shield charge whirling blades. So like these things might like drop your charges. They might drop some stacks that you have, and that's kind of annoying sometimes. That's like one extra little thing to consider, right? But as long as your mob density, your mob density is like not too horrible, you might want to consider that map. And then another thing is going to be if you think about like what's it called, like the div card, what actually drops from that map, right? So does it have a good div card offering that I want to turn in myself for some fun, or sell it for some profit? That's also a good consideration. And then there's things that are kind of the intangibles, which like are kind of like after you've thought of the previous things, now you can think of. So if that is position on the Atlas, how many sextants? I would recommend at least 4 sextants for any shaped or eldered strategy that you run. So as long as it's hit by 4 sextants somehow, you're all good, right? 3 at the bare minimum, I would say. And then of course like color of the sextants, because reds and yellows are more expensive than the whites. And then other intangibles are things like, is the boss phased, right? So if your boss is phased, it takes a little bit longer to kill the map. You might drop charges even sometimes, and sometimes it's not fun to wait for a boss to spawn, right? Like a spider coming down from the ceiling. And then of course there's things like, is it a triple boss or a single boss? Like triple boss, I think is like pretty fun, because the way that like the damage kind of works in this game is most of the time, like if there's like more targets to hit, you actually do more damage, right? And so for a lot of these AoE skills, and obviously 3 maps like drop more loot than just like the one map, or sorry, 3 bosses drop more loot than the one boss maps. There's like a little bit extra there. And then three boss maps always drop a card called 3 voices. That's another little thing to know. And the corrupted essences like the horror, delirium, insanity, things like this are actually like not too uncommon for those cards. So these are like these little things to think about, right? And then, so once you've kind of combined all these things, you can go, okay, now that I know how I like to play, and now I know like these things to consider, why would I choose like these maps? So let's just go over it real quick. So these are currently like what I think are pretty badass maps. Honorable mentions down here, and I'll go over why. So cells right here fits the criteria for at least 4 sextants. You can go 5 if you want, so it meets that. And then it's also, I mean, it's like yellow sextants if you want to do 4, which is a little bit more expensive, but I think it's totally worth it. The monster count is extremely high in cells, so a lot of people like hate on these dungeon layouts and like, you know, dungeon cells, torture chamber. Well, that's been removed as of 3.5, but these maps get a lot of hate, but they are actually pretty damn good because the monster pack size is so high, right? Like I ran like a white one of these, right, over a bunch of maps, and I got like 700 mobs unrolled, unsextanted. So I was like, wow, that's crazy, right? And then now that you can watch my stream from last night, where I did a bunch of them, the cells is actually interconnected enough where it's not actually that bad, because think of the way that like Underground Sea is interconnected, right? It's not really everything connected, but you can get around from one point to the other without much issue, or very rarely you have much issue. Maybe you have to use a flame dash here and there, right? So pretty damn good map. The cards, it drops the Wretched, right? And it also drops the Penitent, which is an unset ring. You get the Pariah, and obviously the Wretched, you want the Headhunter, right? But even like Biscos would be fine. So I found it extremely fun to turn in those Wretched cards. I want to farm up like some big stacks of those, and high monster density is always good, right? And then taking a little bit extra time to run the map isn't bad, because then you're spending more time. You're spending more time in the map rather than rolling maps and all the administrative stuff. So I think this map is actually like S tier. It is so good. I think you should give it a try, but one thing, it is more suited towards a running build. I would not run this map if you're like a Whirling Blades, Shield Charge primarily as your movement speed or movement skill character, okay? It's going to be complete aids. Leap Slam is kind of okay because you can jump through every single one of the walls, and I guess like Poet's Pen is fine because you can warp through all the walls and stuff there. So more geared towards movement speed characters. Clicking on the doors isn't really a big deal. Boss is non-phased. You can one-shot the boss. It'll never like phase out if you don't do enough damage or something like that. So and pretty easy boss too. All the boss attacks are like very telegraphed and easy to avoid. So overall, not bad here. Also drops, I guess, the SC and the offering from the boss, but those are cheap enough for the Chevrone's wrappings that not really that much of a consideration. So overall, I love this map. This is my favorite map this league by far. Next, we're gonna talk about the classic, right? Like the Underground Sea map. Now, the Underground Sea map did undergo a tiny bit of a change. I think that the Merveil got a 2-phase. So now, previously you could one-shot the Merveil. Now, when you one-shot the first phase, she goes into the Sea Witch phase, and so it adds like 5 seconds to the map after you've phased her. So it's like, you know, I mean, it is a little thing that some people won't like, but overall, not much to say here. High mob density, easy to get around, dark layout, so easy on the eyes, right? That's also an intangible to go with. And then it also drops the Glimmer of Hope, which is the gold ring, and they move like Ventnors to like tier 1 rarity or something this league. And so the Ventnors actually sells if you can get that, but most of the time you get Anbarius. It drops the Agati Amulet card at Vol's Devotion. I think it's like at least an Exalt right now. If you get that from the card. And then of course the very basic and consistent drop is the Survivalist, which is 7 Alchemy Orbs. Alchemy Orbs at this point in League still sell very well. You know, early on in League, extremely valuable because you're always running alchemies. You know, oh no, I can't sustain my alchemies. So very good to run this map early too, right? And overall pretty easy map because like native monsters are like the Sea Witch kind of base guys, maybe like pirates and stuff like that. So pretty awesome map, right? Also good sextanting. If you have this red, you're looking at 2 yellows, a white. I don't know if this one hits actually, but it's a decent sextants there. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about this too much. This is from the beginning of time. This has been like one of the juicy meta maps. You can definitely still run it. Okay. Toxic Sewers. People really know about Toxic Sewers too. One of the better maps in terms of density and monster count. Obviously, Beyond is gone, so we're not going to talk about like how good these are with Beyond, because a lot of the draw of like running the UGS and the Toxic Sewers with the Beyond was like the tight clustering, like the coefficient of like the portals like congealing was very high for Beyond monsters. But now that's gone. we'll just talk about base monster count. And this is very good because it has high monster count, but not only that, it also is easy to run without backtracking if you just do the rule where if your character's running, you turn your character's right side whenever you can, right? And then you'll do most of the map without backtracking. And so with that rule, very easy, smooth map, a tiny bit more biased towards the running characters, but shield charge rolling blades, no problem in this map. You know, I even did like a leap slam boy with a consecrated path to 100 in toxic sewers, so not really that big a deal. I'll say one little note is that the div cards, the throne, which is a Combs Roots, which you know, if you get close to 200 HP, it sells for a decent amount of money. If you get good corruption on it, it sells for a lot of money. So they nerfed that div card, so it does not drop as common as it used to from the zone. But you know, boss is easy, it's non-phase, it's a spoder. There's a little bit of like Chow's damage in here, which is a bit of a concern. And also another note is that betrayal mobs in here, if you use predictive, the little bit of desync and the tight spacing and spawning of the betrayal action, unless it's a research, is it can be a little bit more deadly in this map, I'll say, but it's still an amazing map. And 3 white sextants, look at that, amazing. So 3 whites, you know, 1 red if it's eldered, or if it's chafed. Okay. Nothing to talk about. Let's talk about the estuary. So the estuary is, oh my god, I love this map. I had a T16, now it's not because I'm running cells, but it has. Okay, so it has non-white sextants, right? Which is, you know, sometimes not so good, right? But it is 4 sextant minimum, so it meets that criteria. And the great thing about estuary is like, so every balance patch they do this thing where if you're a new player, grinding gear has been trying to balance like monsters per time, meaning that if you have a super open layout like Strand, it will have a lot less monsters than a more cancerous layout, like for example like Cells, right? And so if you run like a white Strand, you might get 400 monsters. You run a Cells, you might get 700 monsters, and that is because like one map takes a lot less time and is a lot less hassle to do, so you're actually doing more maps per time, so that's actually the monster type even out. Now with that said, they will never balance that, right? Just because there's so many factors. You know, what are you adding to the maps? We have like scarabs now. We have like all this crazy stuff that adds monsters, and so they'll never balance that. But they're trying, so good on them. Estuary has kind of escaped the what should I say? The downscaling of the open map. So it is unbelievably open, very good for any kind of movement speed character, right? Any kind of movement skill character, I'll say, will do fantastic on Estuary. If you have an AoE skill, any of the AoE spells like Tornado Shot, hell, even like Split Arrow, whatever, you're gonna love this map. And it's kind of escaped the nerf in the terms of, even though it's so open, it has so many monsters, you know, 600 plus monster probably, and it has a lot of chests. If you're the kind of person that loves clicking on chests, there's a bunch of them. Now the chests, the rarity of these chests and the quantity on these chests are a little bit lower, obviously, because there's probably 100 of them in this map, right? So it is just a beautiful map to run. There's a lava on one side. It's a pretty map. And then if you get to the boss room, the boss is phase. If you can't, okay, the boss is pseudo phase. If you have very good damage, you'll one shot the boss. If you have ass damage, he'll phase, where he splits into 2 Jolems, and then you can't kill the boss until you kill 2 Jolems. Okay, so that's one thing to know, which makes it a little bit worse. Yeah, divination cards. It currently drops. The one to note is the heterochromia, like the 2-stone ring, which, you know, it's okay. It's a little bit too uncommon for my taste. I ran hundreds of these, and I'll say I dropped maybe. I don't think I dropped any heterochromia. Now that I think about it, maybe it's hidden on my filter or something. So it has an okay divination card, but most of all, you're running it for the layout and and the mob density. Okay, so excellent tier 16. Highly recommend. I put this in S tier. Now next, honorable mentions. Haunties, obviously 4 sextants, so it meets the base criteria. Everyone knows about Haunties from previous leagues. Good density. Boss is in a separate room, kind of like Merveil, and it's a 2-phase boss kind of, but you can like one-shot each phase. It's not like some weird timing, and obviously there's a big pack in the boss room. So this is an excellent map, good density. They did nerf the cards. I don't think the Opulent, which is a 100 rare ring, drops in the Haunties anymore. Feels bad, man. I don't know why they removed it. I don't think it was like that that OP of a card because it was only a chance at the 100 like opal or something like that. But whatever, they removed that card, making it a little bit worse. But overall, the map is still solid, easy to run, good for every type of movement skill character or non-movements or just running character. And yeah, nothing much to say here. It's unchanged except for that kind of div card nerf, right? Next. Okay, this is kind of a weird map. It is hit by 4 white sextants if you don't shape your grotto here. So Crater, right? Good sextant position. You can do it early on, and it is a beautiful map. It's got this red clay kind of atmosphere, and it has a high natural monster count. Boss is unfazed. You can one-shot the boss. Boss is also easy to find. This map drops like the Soul Taker card. It drops the Chevrones, the Wrappings card, Aesthete, I think, but these aren't like that great anymore. And the weird thing about this is that the layout is so good and so bad at the same time. Like, it is impossible to do this map usually without backtracking, and there's some like debates where there's like this little like walkway that goes over the lava to connect 2 zones, but you can't really see it. It's kind of weird, and there's a lot of backtracking in this map, even though it's so like kind of open, and the corridors are narrow, which means that it's the monsters are packed so tight, and it's a high natural monster count. So, but the backtracking sometimes going actually all the way back around the map feels super bad. I'm sure someone with a glowy brain, very high IQ, can figure out how to do this easier than I can. But I was just like, oh my god, that felt bad. Even though everything else about this map was so good. Sometimes Betrayal also bugs out in here. Sometimes Betrayal spawns behind the boss room, and you can't get to it. So if you care about Betrayal, maybe take caution, right? I think that's like a bug with Haunties and Toxic Sewers sometimes as well. Okay, so I would say though, I ran at least like 100 plus of these in tier 16s, and it was okay. It was pretty fun. Obviously, like, also because like some of the corridors are so narrow, strong boxes, like you lose some monsters on the strong box spawns. Okay, keep that in mind. But I think it's an honorable mention just because it's new. It looks great, high monster count, good map overall. If you don't care too much about your backtracking. Okay, let's talk about some T15s here. And we have a Belfry. Now, Belfry I'm not going to talk too much about. Good div card, like 1C, basically 1C. You skip the boss, which kind of sucks. Lower monster count overall, but extremely linear to run. Okay, this is has been kind of a staple in the game for a while. You can definitely do this as your tier 15. Easy to sell as well, which is, you know, some added bonus. Right, all the T15s are kind of good to drop because if you watch my stream from last night, just by selling bulk, you know, 20, 30, 40 sets of these when you're doing like T16 maps, I made over like 1,000 chows just for selling maps that I would never run myself. Okay, so T15s are pretty good from an economical standpoint right now. And next we have the tower. Now this one's new. This tower map is pretty awesome for a whole number of reasons. So layout got revamped. It is much more linear. The mobs are pretty good mob count and spread. You know, traveling to a different room it won't lose you like too many stacks or charges usually. And it has the benefit of having amazing div cards. So it drops the Wretched, it drops the Chevrones cards, the offering. It drops the Nurse, which is 1/64th of a Headhunter, which is pretty big money right now, and then it has the added bonus of being a dark map, so it doesn't hurt your eyes from running a long time. And there's a bug in the game right now where to get the Whale Temple, I've been told that you can only corrupt a tower. So if you want to get these start at 80C for the near like the very cancerous rolls, like where the boss might like just like one shot you straight up, right? And then the good rolls can be 100C. So if you get like a 4 mod, right, of Whale Temple where it's like super easy, magic, rare monsters, curse with Enfeeble when you have like Warning Flask and Chilled Ground or something, right? Then these will sell for a lot more. So like if you are like spamming a map and you're corrupting them, which you should be doing with the Whale Orbs this league, you will naturally get some of these sometimes. Well, I don't even know what the chances are. 1 in 10, 1 in 20, I don't even know, but it's still pretty damn good. So that's an added bonus. Now it is hit by red section, so if you want to farm the Nurse, you're looking at some more investment in the red, so a little bit more trading, right? Because like the reds per Exalt, the reds per for Chow's Orbs are going to be harder to trade for, okay? But tower, excellent map here. It's connected to T16, which doesn't really matter because if you watch my Alice strategy, sometimes connectors for sustain is kind of weird. But you can just sell this and then buy more of these. Awesome map, and it is new. It's fresh. Boss fight is I think the boss fight's still phased, right? Which is a little bit less juicy. So that's one little tiny negative about the map, okay? But really awesome there. Spider Forest, this is confirmed to drop the doctors as well. It's a kind of open layout. Mob count is okay, but the only reason I mention this is because everyone likes farming doctors, right? This is like a whole thing of like, you know, getting your magic find guy into a doctor dropping map. So this is mostly for the gift card. I don't really like how the boss is in another room. The connector, the little pathing, the little U shape that goes into the boss room is kind of far away from everything, and it's all right. I don't really like it, but it does bear a mention because of the doctor card. If you're gonna run it, I would recommend running it probably red, so you can drop other T15s and stuff, T14s, and sell them. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that map. Honorable mention here. T14s. Alright, so we got some good stuff here. So here's what I like. Moon Temple has been, I don't know if they like added monsters in this last patch, but Moon Temple seems pretty dense, right? Not as dense as like Cells, but it has a very nice coloration. It's completely dark blue, so that means that your eyes aren't going to suffer too much. High monster count. The boss is in a separate room, and sometimes, depending on your RNG, you might miss the boss on the first pass and have to do a tiny bit of backtracking, but the boss is easy. Once you get to the boss, he's not phased. He can't actually kill you because he does these bow attacks where it's so easy to see where he's shooting, and he doesn't have like he doesn't really have an AoE attack. So you like easy boss. You can one shot him, and this map drops also the Twilight Temple cards, which I think they're like 30 alchemies or something right now. But it's not that rare of a drop, so it's very consistent acquisition of these cards. Another thing I'll say is like this is. The layout sometimes has these like elevations and platforms that are not easily connected, so you might want to bring in a flame dash if you're a leap slammy boy, even if you're a whirling blades shield charge boy. You might want to bring in a flame dash or like a charge. Sometimes people even use like charge dash and stuff, right? And that can do well. If you're a runny boy, it's awesome because you can just like run around and get to it. So the movement in here can be a little bit annoying. I hear a lot of people complain about like, you know, if your build is bad, then you might not like moving around this map. Okay, but everything else is so fantastic, and I'm kind of like, you guys know how much I love the Lunaris, the blue carpet, the blue ambiance. It's just fantastic. It feels good to run. Okay. Excellent map there. Courthouse, I've done T16 Courthouses before last league. It hasn't really changed. 3 boss, which is amazing. Drops 3 voices. Awesome divination card. And the 3 voices is a common card. You drop so many of them. So that's pretty PogChamp. Another thing about it is it has it's kind of like a Haunty Mansion layout where there's like different rooms and open layouts, but the overall mob count is very high. It also drops the Undaunted, which is a Nemesis card. You can get a Headhunter from that, and that is a little bit, I'd say, it's a little bit too rare, right? It's like almost as rare as like the Valtree if you're killing a lot of rogue exiles, and overall though, it's a very good map. Red Sextons, a couple yellow Sextons here, so you know, unfortunately no white Sextons, but overall solid map. I put this in the T14. It's definitely in the S tier. Waste Pool is also a good map. It is almost identical to Toxic Sewers, except for the boss is phased, which kind of sucks, right? And boss can be a little bit deadlier and more annoying, but overall it has like you know, non-white Sextons, but 4 Sextons nonetheless. And if you want to do a T14 and you like Toxic Sewers, but you don't want to do Tier 12 for some reason, you can just do the Waste Pool. Pretty cool map. Okay, it's an honorable mention right there. Next one, let's talk about some other maps that you could Elder. I have seen a lot of people Elder, a lot of people swear by these maps, or they're popular for some other reason. So we have first the Barrow Chambers. Now the Barrow Chambers you can run naturally as an 11. You can do it as a tier 16. If you look on PoE Trade right now, a lot of people are doing this map. There's like people with 100 stacks of these for sale, and they are extremely cheap, which is cool because like if you want to just buy these to run and then like do something else for money, like another map strategy, you can. But I won't talk about this in this video. Barrow Chambers, obviously it has the Doctor, and that is pretty much the only reason I think people run it. Layout's not bad. 2 big rooms. Monster counts are right. You know, the interconnected rooms in the middle and at the boss, I think really suck. But overall, it's not a bad map, right? Pretty vanilla map. Everyone knows about Barrow Chambers. They changed it up. They kind of nerfed it by making it red Sextons and a yellow Sexton here. But you know, you do what you gotta do to get your doctors. So always gotta do honorable mention for the doctor dropping maps. Okay. Other than that, boss is also pretty easy. Okay, Shaped Arcade. Shaped Arcade drops the Saint's Treasure, which is an exalted orb, a way of getting exalted orbs from the divination cards. It gets hit by, at least 4 sextants, which is good, and at least 1 white here if your resonance isn't like shaped or whatever, which is very very nice. And I would say I did a lot of Elder Arcades last week, and it is annoying because like the pillars, the middle pillar sections, they are LOS blockers, even though the map does look linear, so it can be a little bit weird, but around the edges it's good for any kind of movement skill or actual movement speed build. And Arcade has a double boss, which is kind of cute, and the double boss is extremely easy. They're ribbons, so that they have like no HP, so very easy for to clear even if this is a tier 12. Okay, good monster count as well. So Arcade, you can farm some Saints treasures. Go at it. Honorable mention right there. You can do either 7 or 12. And then as for the Arsenal and the Precinct, these have good divination cards. The notable one on these is the Abandoned Wealth, which is multiple exalted orbs. Right, it's an uncommon card, but if you have, I would run these like. Whenever you're farming for an exalted orb card, definitely put on some Magic Find. Okay, Magic Find, if you're only caring about divination cards, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but you're gonna have a bad time without it, right? Because the variance gets so much higher. Arsenal, Precinct, people elder these. They run them regular. They run them They run them the shape version. Both, like this one is in half decent sextant location, obviously hitting the minimum requirement of 4, and then the Arsenal is of course. Red sextants, a couple yellows here, so not bad either. Okay, you can run these, either honorable mentions. Let's talk about some other maps real quick that I think are like pretty cool, and this is going to go into the fun aspect. These are maps that I have personally ran many times, and I think I have a good idea of like my enjoyment level in them. And I would say like if people are so now if people don't want to do the higher tier reds, right, like the 14, 15, 16s, and they're like, you know what, I just want to like relax, do some white maps, do some yellow maps, do some shaped yellow maps, whatever. What are some of those that are cool? Okay, let's talk about them real quick. Arid Lake, very open map, easy boss. It has like the cool thing where you can hit the nest to make more quantity, but that doesn't really matter. Extremely easy map to run, and half decent monster layout here. So Arid Lake's not a bad map to run as a 2 or a 7. Grotto, now this one actually can be run as a T16. I've seen some people doing it. Grotto drops the corgi, the little cute corgi on the card. I forgot what it's called, but I think it's called the man's best doggo or something, and it drops 3 fusings. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Very common drop too, so you get a lot of fusings from this. Now the reason I don't like Grotto anymore is because with the addition of so Grotto is like, it's like a ring, and the ring with has RNG offshoots that go into different directions and have a dead end. With the addition of Betrayal, if you get a stronghold room or research room, things like this, it will add an offshoot to the map which can debate you. So like if you believe that like the ring and the boss room is in the middle of the ring, you can get debated by all these dead ends and an additional betrayal mechanic room, which I hate that, right? I don't like getting debated like that. So that's why I've taken, like, I would put Grotto like up here as an honorable mention, but that's why it's kind of taken like a backseat to that, but it has like excellent sextants. If you look right here, white sextants, if you want elder that, right? So you can definitely try that. Okay, Glacier is something that people have been saying is really good. It's got white sextants hitting it. People have eldered Glacier, and a lot of people have told me on stream, hey, you should try Glacier, it's amazing. And here's why I don't like Glacier. Number one, you go into the map and you're blind, like you literally cannot see anything. Like you run this map 10 times and you are basically you can't see anything because of the white, the snow blindness of the map coloration is just terrible. Also, like maybe with sextants it's fine, but it's got one tiny little area, and it's got like a big like connector room for it's like a George, right, except for one big connector room and then just the boss. It's like the shortest, it's like one of the shortest maps, maybe even shorter than Beach sometimes. And so I didn't really like that, because if you get unlike, it just doesn't seem like that many monsters. So I personally don't like that because of the colors and how short the map is. But some people swear by T16 Glacier, so you can try that out as well. Peninsula is kind of cool. Peninsula is not a bad layout. It's a ring, and it is a decent monster count. Boss is kind of phased. You have to wait for him to spawn, but then you can one-shot him. in another room, so that's kind of like a detriment. And also, if you add sextants to Peninsula here, like you see how many sextants it has. If you add sextants to Peninsula, it's scary because the sextant monsters can spawn on top of you on the portal. So what I mean is, like, every almost excuse me, my throat's a little bit clogged. Imagine you zone into any map, there's no monster around, right? You have your grace timer obviously for 30 seconds, but there's no monsters around when you first zone into a map. If you add sextants to Peninsula, the monsters will spawn on top of you, literally on top of you. You'll be like, you'll be in the middle of a monster pack at the portal when you spawn in. And if you move and you have a bad build, you're gonna get like hit a bunch of times. So that's kind of scary. And even for me, it was kind of scary on my Stormcaller, because it's like if you got like the blackguards, like lightning monsters or whatever, blackguards use Arch, right? The mages, and this is like so much damage, and it's kind of scary, kind of annoying. Okay, but this is like pretty damn good map. I like this map. Okay, next, Thicket. Okay, Thicket lives up to its name. It is a very nice monster density, you know, sometimes kind of hard to get around. Dark coloration, which is very good, easy on the eyes. Bosses in a separate room, but very easy as well. Mostly you're doing this because, I mean, you have some white sextants here, and it is a high monster count, okay? Beach. Beach is an honorable mention too, because Beach is just one of those like feel-good maps. It's shorter than Strand. It's more lively than Strand. Sometimes the monster spawning in the water can be kind of annoying. Boss is easy, separate room, non-phased. It's just like really short, right? People like Beach just because it's like a reliable map, and if you have it, why not run it? If you want, it's kind of fun, but it's just like short, hard to sustain the T16s, and monster count's okay though. Not that great, but it's okay. It's just short. Okay, next is going to be the Jungle Valley. Now, Jungle Valley is kind of like Beach. It's short and sweet. Good monster density if they are packed. You know, it has like the minimum 4 sextants required for consideration. The boss is delayed, which kind of sucks. You go into the boss room, you gotta wait like 10 seconds sometimes for the boss to drop down from the ceiling. So I don't like that. But a lot of people like Jungle Valley. It's kind of a cute map. I like it. Fungal Hollow is a new map. It is beautiful. It is kind of interconnected in the way that the Underground Sea is interconnected, and boss is easy. It's the Jumpy Boy from Misa. And all the little mushrooms and the things around make it like a really cool map. I like it, and it's got easy sextants. I actually ran this T16. Not bad there. Next we have the Siege. Now Siege is actually pretty pog. Like Siege has high monster count. I would not run this if you're a Shield Charge or Whirling Blades guy. You're gonna have a bad time because they put up like the little palisades, little barricades, little like spiky thingies everywhere. So like you're gonna have a hard time unless you're a movement speed boy. But boss is like kind of phased in the fact that it's the totem guy from the Tukohama guy, where he drops his 4 totems. You gotta kill totems before you can kill him. But yeah, other than that, it is an excellent map for mob count. Now it's you know, the sextants are a little bit more expensive, but you know, honorable mention there. Arachnid Nest. I actually really like Arachnid Nest. Now obviously yellow sextants and all that, but it's kind of like a Thicket map. It's like the spider version of a Thicket map. I actually like the mob count, and it's just like a cute map. I like it a lot. A lot of people don't like this though. Volcano drops the Combs cards, which like earlier in the league were like 20 something C, and it is a very reliable drop. It's like uncommon, but not actually that rare. And so you can farm your own Combs, you can farm cards for sale, good profit, darker layout, dark red layout, so it doesn't hurt your eyes, a linear, which is pretty awesome, and an extremely easy totem boss, which I really don't think you could die to the totem boss, right? So safe map to run, and pretty fun. I had a good time with this. Infested Valley is also a beautiful map. It's very linear, has a big open area. The bosses kind of suck because it's like the Rislotha guy, so it's like kind of phased. But overall, it's like a mix between Jungle Valley and like you know, like George or something. It's pretty good map and good looking map too. So definitely try this map out if you want to do some yellows. Tropical Island is pretty cool too. Very dense, easy to like do a full completion without wondering where the mobs are. Boss is very easy as well, and just like a feels good map, right? And then last, City Square. City Square, it has the 3 bosses, which is excellent. This is good for every kind of movement skill or movement speed build. And City Square has very good mob density, you know, and the sextants does it hit 4? Yeah, it hits 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's it there. These are like my, and then I forgot to talk about Dungeon. Whoops. Dungeon map. A lot of monsters, a more cancerous layout than cells because there's some like real long stretches of lack of interconnectivity, right? But the dungeon has good sextants, and overall mob count, like divination cards, wretched stuff like that, is pretty cool. So dungeon I would recommend too. Okay, this is once again more for movement speed builds, maybe leap slam builds. Another one, armory. A lot of people run armory because armory has a very high monster density, good sextants here. Boss is pretty easy, and I don't really like this if you're a whirling blade shield charge build because you can get stuck on a lot of stuff. But overall, not a bad map to do. Did I miss anything here? I don't think I missed anything, right? I got everything. And so these are my overall picks. One more thing I will say about the mapping section. Now that is, if you have a red sextant, you should use it. What I mean by that is like, so let me take this as an example. You see this cells right here? This cells has 4 yellows in range. I don't have to use a red sextant because it's more expensive, but I will. And the reason is because the red sextant is the only sextant color that can give you nemesis monsters drop 3 additional currency items. If you watched my stream from last night where I ran that for 3 maps, it's just completely crazy when you pair it with things like the twins, when you pair it with things like the storm, or if you are lucky enough to get another sextant called the reflected. You cannot take reflected damage, and like the rare monsters are duplicated, that actually overrides the twins. You actually can't get like double times double. You can't get quads, right? But like it's absolutely ridiculous. So the chance of getting that much fun and that much currency in a map is worth the little bit of extra cost to use a red sextant on your red map, right? And so I'll give you another example. Let's say you're running Crater with a red sextant. You could still hit Crater with white, 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 and white, but I would take one of these whites and I'll change it to a red, right? Oh, of course the map has to be red too. If you use a red sextant on like a white map, it won't put that on the white map. Okay, it has to be on like the red map itself. So yeah, that's just a little note for mapping. Definitely use one red sextant if you can, right? Obviously some maps you have to reuse red, so it doesn't really matter, but the red sextant, the pool of mods is just much juicier, so that's one thing I recommend. Okay, so that's the video. Overall, you know, pick whatever you have fun with. I just know how I like to play, and these are my map picks. Hopefully this helps some of you guys like think about like why you might run a map, or like, you know, like why this map is good or bad. And I hope you guys have fun in Betrayal. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye.